Hello and welcome to your ACT live class example experience. My name is Eli Schwartz and I'm pretty excited to have you in today's session. Now, we are going to go through and give you a sample of what an actual Kaplan ACT online prep class is going to look like. But as far as today's session, it's not just me up here in the corner of the screen. We also have a phenomenal team of online but off-camera experts to help you out. If you've already had a chance to play around with that chat over here on the right-hand side, there's a lot of stuff that you absolutely can play around with and ask questions and get some good feedback from those experts. Expectations. In terms of this session, we're going to get you up to speed on a few things. Pronunciation of all of the different terms and being able to spell things is really not anything we care about for ACT English test. What we do care about are things like punctuation, verb tenses, subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent rules. And while this list might seem a little bit long looking at it all at once, our goal today is to see how the clues within every single one of the questions are helping us bring it all together in order to get those points and get those questions right in terms of the actual ACT test. Now, last up, there is one more thing, and that's hopefully in today's session, I want us to have a little bit of fun while we're at it, making sure that all of this stuff sticks all the way through till test day is really the goal overall. Now, speaking of test day, let's take a look at what the test always looks like when you see it on the ACT. First up, in terms of the order of the test, it's really kind of nice that, unlike some of the other tests like the SAT, we actually have exactly the same order for every single one of these sections every single time. We always start with the English test, then we go through the math test, then the reading, then the science, then the writing. Every time. And it's kind of cool because this is actually, in case you haven't ever noticed this before, in alphabetical order. So if you're ever thinking, gosh, I can't remember which one comes first, this is absolutely always in alphabetical order. English test, math test, reading test, science test, and just for those of you who are a little concerned, the writing test is of course optional, but if you want that additional English language score, you do have to add the writing test onto your test for test day. But again, those first 4 sections are always going to come first before writing. Now at this point, I don't want to get you concerned about the other tests because we're only going to be talking about the English test in today's session. As far as the English test goes, it is absolutely 45 minutes long and 75 questions based over, of course, 5 passages. But for those of you who are pretty speedy on your math, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, 9 minutes for each of the passages. Okay, 9 times 60 seconds per minute divided by 15 questions. That's exactly 36 seconds per question. That's pretty darn fast. And I know probably 36 seconds per question seems like it might even be too fast for some of us on test day, but the goal is to pick up your speed, to pick up your accuracy, to get a lot of these fundamentals on lockdown early so that we can gradually work our way up to that sort of expertise where you can hit a question in 36 seconds or less and then move on to a harder one down the line. Speaking of the questions we're going to be hitting, the ACT English test absolutely tries to give us a variety of topics, but our strategy is always the same. Really, our strategy is to try and get as many right as possible, but by systematically tackling each type of question they present. Now, for our purposes in today's class, just like we would have in an actual online prep live class that we would offer for English, we could talk about the 3 major categories of conventions or knowledge or production of writing, but we're just going to focus in today on underlined section of tests that really talk about conventions of standard English alone. Again, as far as the detailed lessons that we could otherwise go into, we have many more sessions that break down other ways we could talk about knowledge of language or even additional punctuation we're not even going to get to in today's session. Well, speaking of punctuation, I mean, that's our first thing on our agenda for today, let's jump in. And the arguably most used punctuation throughout the ACT in general is really the comma. Now, the first, probably most used example of a comma that we've probably seen in a lot of grammar classes is to separate out pieces on a list. In this case, physics, then calculus, then US history. You may have heard this talked about as a Harvard comma. I'm not entirely sure why they call it a Harvard comma. I don't know why only people at Harvard are allowed to use it correctly. But just to be super clear, this is the way we use commas. Commas separate out items on a list. That's it, hands down. We always plug it in. This is what the APA style guide says, the Chicago style guide, the MLA style guide, Shrunken Whites, Elements of Style. Heck, the US government printing office style layout says we have to put in a comma to separate out items on a list. That's it. Every single time we put this in. I don't want to feel like I'm just belaboring this issue, but it's something that so many people ask me, come up to me and say, hey, Eli, do I have to put it in if there's an and? Do I have to put it in if it's an or? Yes. There we go. Part of the beauty of these classes is I want to tell you exactly how this stuff gets tested so you can improve your grammar and usage and also make sure you get those right when you see them on the actual ACT. The other way we often see commas used is just to separate out pieces within a sentence. So first of all, of course, the concept of an independent clause versus dependent clause is an independent clause should just be something that overall we always can say without anything else applied to it. So that would be our independent piece. Again, ideally, just grabbing that one little bit of information. I don't even need anything else after the comma, but the comma might help. In this case, we have an example on screen, but for a personal example, maybe, let's see, for lunch, I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but today I ate about a quart of chocolate pudding instead. Now, there's a comma before the but, and maybe a few of you are wondering, well, wait a sec, he had a comma before and, a comma before but. Does anybody know what coordinated conjunctions we normally use after a comma? Maybe a little bit of a shorthand or a peg word. Out the stuff in between the commas, it's non-essential, and everything else should work. And by that, let me be super specific. The subject, the object, the main verbs being used, the theme of the sentence should all be fine. So for this one, Azara found that the hours she spent studying were worth the effort. Subject is there, Azara, object, verb, the entire theme, still totally good. Now, whether or not it's to her delight or surprise or whatnot, that's kind of non-essential. Additional stuff that might be interesting to know, but we don't really care. Next up, the last one where we might see a comma used on the ACT is setting off something that, again, gives us additional information, but it's not even as much information as we would get in a dependent clause. It's really just a modifier. After school, something happened, and then the something that happened is its own independent clause. Now, for my example, I'll use another one. Without further ado, comma, let's jump in and use these on some questions. So I'm going to be totally quiet and give you a chance for this question right now. Go for it. All right, I see a bunch of people already using the poll over there on the side. Remember, you have two tabs. One is the chat on the right-hand side, and the other one is the poll. So if you've already taken a chance to poll in, awesome. But I want to make sure everybody has a chance to really try each of these problems as we go through and do them together. Now for this one, this is a pretty quick, immediate application of the rules that we just mentioned. And that's if I have multiple commas, I want to see if I can cut out that piece in between. Now, watch out. One or two people in here might have potentially fallen for a trap, and that's that without that middle piece, it might sound like the sentence seems pretty close to a normal conversational sentence, but the question is, have we cut out by accident the subject or the object or the main verb? And in this case, the subject is Daniel Rivera. So Daniel Rivera, he can't be in this piece that's completely cut out. Daniel Rivera is the object. All right, so the commas as is are no good, which means we get rid of A. Now, most students get it down between C and D at this point, but remember, if we're going to have an independent clause, the object and the subject have to be, excuse me, not object, subject, have to be on the independent clause side. So I want Daniel Rivera, the subject, to be on that independent clause side. So he's got to be on the independent clause, and this is the stuff he's doing? Oh, well then that whole second chunk has to be after the comma. Boom, match to answer choice D. And just as a heads up to everybody in the room, we did have a majority of everybody who used that poll, who voted, go with D. So I'm going to give you a little gold star down here on the side. I don't want to get us too excited, but I do love it when we get these questions right. It shows that we're getting some of these skills. Now, the next thing I have to talk to you about are the other ways we could have clauses set apart in a sentence. The classic way we probably would see this in normal writing and conversation is if we have a piece of information that's non-essential and almost superfluous. It's really beyond the stuff we care about, offset with parentheses. So for example, I loved the movie Zootopia, and especially Gazelle's, parentheses, played by the singer Shakira, unparentheses, theme song at the end. Now, whether or not Gazelle was played by Shakira or some other voice actor doesn't really matter to the overall statement. I love the movie and I love the theme song. It was so cool, I might play it during my workouts. Who knows? I'm sort of a big nerd. Now, the goal here is to just realize that this is basically the same thing as the double commas. It's offsetting information that we don't really need. It's just this is offsetting information that's a little bit further from the stuff we care about. Now, I mentioned that to you for your own grammatical usage. For the ACT, they are not going to ask you about the difference between comma usage for non-essential clauses or parenthetical usage for non-essential clauses. It's just not something they test. They would give you totally different answers to choose from. You wouldn't have to pick between them. Just for your own personal information, I wanted to give you that extra bit. The other way we could separate stuff out, but call attention to it, is using a dash. Notice in here, we're using a dash to offset a piece of information that might be a little surprising or a little bit different that I want you to pay more attention to than a simple comma. In this case, I might change that to, I decided to enter a 5K instead. I don't know about you, but running a marathon is a little beyond what I'm excited to do on my weekends. Now, the last way we might offset information, really to call super attention to it, again, dashes, but double dashes, essentially parenthetical information that we could cut out, but which is so interesting to us, we want to call attention to it above and beyond the sentence as is. Just to be super clear, I know I said it already, but the ACT doesn't test you on the difference between double dashes, parenthetical statements, and double commas. For your actual usage in the real world, I just wanted to tell you the difference of when you should use them. But for the ACT, knowing that these are setting off non-essential information is enough for us to get that point. Whatever the other answers are, it'll be something else. It's a classic error in a different way, not having to choose between these three. Speaking of, let's actually try and use this. Now I'm going to pause for maybe 10 seconds or so and just give you a chance to try this one out and poll in, again, if you think you've got it, and then we'll work through this together as a team. Go for it. All right, that was about 10 seconds. And of course, I know you would have 36 seconds on the actual test. So I'm not trying to rush anybody here, but I want to have us jump in and do a little bit of this first premise together. First of all, I see a fanboys after a period. Now, is that what we want to see? A fanboys coordinating conjunction after a period? I see a bunch of no's coming through here. No, no, no. We would like that after a comma, maybe. So there's something wrong with it as is. All right, anytime you immediately spot an error of some kind, we get rid of the first answer choice, get rid of F. Something else is at hand here, and we want to offset that piece of information at the end. A comma could offset, a hyphen could offset, something else could be used here, but we want to offset it before the but, because but is our coordinating change. That's telling us something new is happening on the next part of the sentence. So realistically, as far as the ACT is concerned, I don't care whether it's a dash, I don't care whether it's a comma, I want to offset that information, and I want to offset it before I say but. Well then, only answer we can choose here is G, even though I could have been tempted by J, because it does have a comma. It has a comma in the wrong spot. Remember, we want to fix the issue at hand without introducing anything new. And again, that was a majority for the right answer, so it looks like we've got a pretty good group in here. I'm loving this. Now, in terms of additional punctuation that some people tend to get a little freaked out by, let's move into semicolons and apostrophes just to make sure you know how those get tested. First of all, semicolon might seem like it's a little bit complicated, but it breaks down to one simple rule. The two statements should be fine on their own. They should essentially be independent clauses that we could say with a period in between them. But because they're a little bit more connected than we would normally think, because we want people to think of them as almost one thought, we put a semicolon in there instead. So for example, I might have two statements that I want you to think of together. Watch me whip, semicolon, now, comma, watch me nay-nay, period. Two statements that by themselves would be totally fine, but we put that semicolon in there so you think about it all as one thing. Of course, the other way we could use semicolons, besides just setting off two independent clauses, is by setting off massive lists of things. If I have a list of things, and within it, sort of like Inception, there's another list of things within that, I break that all apart with semicolons to make sure I recognize each of those sub-lists. So the example on screen here is pretty massive, but this is the way we would use it. We would use it to separate out a bunch of different sub-lists within a massive list. Now, the other thing that we should mention briefly, and this does get tested on the ACT in terms of punctuation, but it's really just tested in terms of possessive or contraction punctuation, making sure that I have that apostrophe in the right place. I will mention briefly replacing one or more letters in a contraction, like we see here in the center commentary. That is something that ACT could potentially test. We just don't see them test it very frequently, because that's almost a little bit too harsh. If they gave us a question where we had the contraction can't and the apostrophe was after the A instead of after the N for can't, that's almost too tricky. And ACT just doesn't do that. So we'd expect to see apostrophe used in terms of possession or for plurals. That's really the strict way ACT tends to use this because, again, this is a test trying to make sure that you understand usage, not trying to really fool us in any way. Let's take a look. Try out this one on screen, and I'll give you 10 seconds. But before I do, I'll mention that a lot of students get caught by a trap by reading this one too fast. Go for it. And I see a bunch of people polling in for the right answer. Maybe I gave too much of a hint by saying that people might read it too fast. But right off the bat, I'm looking for usage. I've got a semicolon in here, which means I should have two separate clauses. And if I read them separately, okay, first half looks like it's a separate clause. Second half, others prefer... Okay, that does seem like it's a separate clause. So semicolon usage is good. And a lot of people tend to get trapped by A because the semicolon is used correctly. But watch out. There's a comma in here. And that comma is often where a lot of people might take breaths or might stop or pause. And that comma usage, others, comma, prefer ketchup and relish and onions or even chili, is probably the most common issue that we tend to see on this one, because it is where most of us might take a breath or might take a pause in real life speaking. Here's what I recommend. Anytime you have a kind of a vague pronoun that's being used here, like others, replace it with something else that's a real noun you might actually talk about. In this case, maybe I'll replace others with robots. Now let's read this. Robots prefer ketchup. Well, I wouldn't pause after robots. Robots, comma? No. Robots prefer ketchup, relish, onions, and chili. Whether or not they do doesn't matter to me. I know there was a problem with it as was, and I've fixed it now by taking out that comma. The semicolon is still fine. If we didn't have the semicolon in there, we would essentially have one statement and another statement that are being joined with no punctuation, like B, or a simple comma before a list, which is really not what we ever want to see. We want to see that list always offset by either a semicolon or potentially by a colon if it's giving us new information to add to what we already know. So, speaking of using a colon instead, that's the last thing we've got to talk about in terms of major punctuation for today's session. Now, a colon is sometimes used exactly like I just mentioned. Notice on that last problem, we didn't have colon versus semicolon as an option. Because again, the ACT just wants to know, do you recognize common usage? They're not trying to trick us here by mixing up possible overlap. So for this usage, this really is similar to how we would use a semicolon from before. In this case, it's elaborating on some information. Instead of it being totally new clause, we use the colon and get that list following after it. Similarly, we could actually use a colon to have an internal thought. If you don't want to use quotation marks for a personal thought, or you don't want to use italics like we might see in some literature, some books or novels, we can use the colon to offset that bit of information. Now, I know what a couple of you are probably thinking. Come on, Eli, it's a thought. Wouldn't I use a quotation? Couldn't I just do that instead? Sure. If we're actually making a quotation of some kind, we can use the colon before quotation. Now, it's more common to use a comma before a quotation. I'm sure we're going to get one or two people chatting that no matter what. And that's really what we see most often on the ACT. We see a comma before quotation, but the reason I put it up here on screen is to let you know this is also correct. The ACT would never make you pick between colon quotation versus comma quotation. I just want to be super clear that this, if you see it, is totally okay. It's not something that we would have to get rid of because it's wrong. It's something that's totally a viable way to use this particular punctuation. Speaking of using the colon, let's see a question that actually uses colon in the original underlined section. Again, I'll be quiet. I'll give you about 10 seconds. Go for it. Number 4. All right, let's take a look. First thing we do every time systematically is we look for how the colon has been used in the first place. We have a complete sentence, and then a colon, and then a list of things afterwards. Okay, well, a colon before a list of things that adds information to the original statement, that's excellent. We like it. Here's the question I've got back to you, because I see that we've got a huge number of people polling in with F. I want to know, was anybody tempted by J? Because J could be something that's right. We could potentially change it to a semicolon instead. All right, so a couple of people saying yes, I was tempted by it. Here's the simple rule. Remember, anytime you're tempted by a change because that also looks maybe right, stop yourself right there. If the original phrasing, the original underline, the original punctuation was good as is, you're done. Don't go changing something if it ain't broke. We only want to change things if they're explicitly wrong as is. Don't even think about J, because it's already good. Pick F, move on. Now, of course, there's more punctuation that we really haven't played around with. I know that Vicky and Ayman put down here in chat that they're super excited about what we've already covered, but there's tons more. We've got all these additional tricks and examples to make sure that you can effectively study, efficiently work on these, and actually get that grammar down, not just for the ACT, but for your own personal writing, for your own benefit in life. We'll talk about all these other ones in other of our ACT online prep sessions, but remember, the strategy we used, we're going to keep using. Scan for if we have an error as is. Now, if it's fine as is, no change. Bubble it in, move on. Don't go trying to find additional problems that don't exist. Now, if there is a problem, okay, try and fix the error you see, and this is something we'll get into in a second, without adding a new problem in. As always, we want to fix the problem, but we don't want to always be fixing a problem that potentially might cause something new to happen because we've unfortunately not read that answer all the way through completely. Now going forward, we're going to play this out more like a real Kaplan ACT online prep live class, where I'm actually going to start giving you more and more time as we work on these questions, more like you would really have on the actual exam. But before we do, I have to introduce to you a little bit more of what I promised at the very beginning. Let's talk about those verb tenses, and we'll talk a little bit about subject-verb agreement, just to make sure we've got the bare bones required foundations to actually do that practice in a second. Now the things you see on screen, the classic verb tenses, these are the ones we probably have studied first when you were learning English in general. Present, past, and future. Now think of these, this is how I remember it, as if you only know the present, the past, the future, and that's it. It sounds a little bit silly, but you know nothing else. You only know the present. I study. That's all I know. You only know the past. I studied. That's all I know. I'm not adding any context. I only know that tiny little bit. So you might have heard this called the simple present, or simple past, or simple future. Yeah, because simply, that's all I know. Now we're going to get more complicated. Let's talk progressive. Now, progressive generally has that ing ending, that gerund ending, but the progressive just means I know this thing and I think it's going to keep happening. That's present progressive or past progressive or future progressive. So the one on screen is past progressive. I was studying and I'm probably still doing it. It's ongoing. For example, for me, present, I am teaching. I anticipate that I'll still be teaching for a few more minutes at least. Past, I was teaching a few minutes ago and it's still happening, ongoing. And future, I will be teaching in 5 minutes. That's the simplest possible way I can talk you through progressive. It's continuing to happen from the past, right now into the future, or in the future further. Now I got to get into what generally throws off one or two people. This is the simple stuff. The progressive stuff is still happening. Now we get into perfect. All right, to remember perfect, remember what I said a second ago? Simple past, present, future. That only thing I know is that simple past, the simple present. Perfect means I know the past, the present, the future perfectly well. I know it so well because I know what happened around them as well. I have context for it. So check it out on screen. I have studied for 2 months. Yeah, I have perfect knowledge of what's happening in the present because I have the context that it's been happening since the past. See how that works? I have perfect knowledge surrounding the present. Let's look at it for past. I had studied up until I took the test. I know perfectly well all of those things that happened in the past because I have context for the whole past. Similarly, for future perfect, I am perfectly aware that I will have studied for the ACT for 3 months. I've got that whole perfect vision of the future. Hopefully that way of thinking about this is going to help you remember these, again, all the way through till test day. But putting these on flashcards, using some additional resources, making practice sentences is always beneficial just to make sure it sinks in for you as you see this throughout your practice. Speaking of practice, we got to do some practice. And I'm going to give you, in this case, a little bit more time. I'm going to double the time, give you about 20 seconds. I know it's not full test day time, but I want to make sure we use your time efficiently in today's session. So 20 seconds for this one, and you've got to do some reading, and I'll be quiet. Go for it. All right, that was about 20 seconds. Now, I know it's not 36. I see we've got a bunch of people polling in and a huge majority for the right answer. Oh, that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. So let's do it together. First up, okay, he has been commissioned to create something. That sounds fine so far. He has been commissioned. Sounds okay. This is the present perfect. I know perfectly well in the present that he has been commissioned. Fine. Now, unless there are other clues that might invalidate this statement being in the present day, it would be okay. It could be A. Anybody notice maybe a hint that ACT has luckily given us that shows this probably isn't present perfect? Hmm. 1877, huh? That sure sounds like strict past. Whether or not Theodore Frida was doing these full chariot sculptures for a long time or even his entire life, 1877, however long he lived, he's not living right now. So no change is out, unfortunately, because we know for sure this is in the strict past. Which answer choice has strict past? Boom. Answer choice C, which was the vast majority. Nicely done. Nicely done. For those of you who might have been tempted by A, just to be clear, grammatically A is fine if there hadn't been the clues they built in. And that's the way ACT designs these questions. They have to give you additional clues if we're going to change tenses. Otherwise, it could have been okay if it had been present. But 1877, gosh darn it, that's no good for us. Now, in terms of the actual subject we used here, Theodore Friedel, and the verb that was used, right, has been commissioned versus was commissioned, what we're really trying to do here beyond just matching up tense is also make sure that the right subject-verb agreement takes place for singular versus plural. Let's jump in with those. Remember, we have to match up first person, second person, third person, I am, you are, they are. Similarly, we have to match up the plural versus singular for any terms we might have. One woman works, multiple women work, making sure that we have that connection exactly to the number and to the type. Now, these sentences are pretty basic here on screen, but more complex sentences on the ACT might separate out the subject and the verb by those comma clauses, by maybe dashes, by parentheses, making it harder to hear whether they match or not. The way I usually tackle these is try to eliminate the fluff in between and read the simplest possible version of the sentence to yourself to avoid getting caught up by all the fluff they've thrown in there. Let me do the same thing. I'm going to give you 20 seconds because it's a long question. I'm going to give you a chance to try this one out. Go for it. Number 6. All right, let's take a look. Now, in this one, this is absolutely the classic way we would see this sort of question tested on the ACT. Sure, this seems like a long question, but to abstract Petal's comment in chat, absolutely, this is still short and sweet, the way ACT likes it. take a look. We have multiple dashes. Well, that means whatever's in between them is something they want us to pay attention to, but which is non-essential. If we get rid of those, listen to how it reads. According to geologists, a fossil fuel deposit of truly game-changing size have. Well, wait a sec. The deposit have become? That looks like singular, one. So it's not good as is. We want to change that to something that matches up with singular. Okay, well, single would be just one thing. One thing has happened. In this case, the fuel deposit has become increasingly hard. And to Gabriel's question, basically I just think about Donald's question from a second ago, how excited everybody here is to do more questions. And that's what spurs me on, to keep my upbeat attitude. I wish I had a freeze mechanism, but it's really just this. I'm just part robot. I think that's what it is. Now, last up, if I am part robot, then the pronoun we use to represent me might change from he to it or something else. And pronouns, of course, have to match up. So he made dinner for himself because his parents were working late. Actually, I don't love this sentence because it's lacking an original antecedent. It doesn't have the original noun we're referring back to. I don't know he in the first place. Ideally, we'd love for that first he to actually be replaced by Tom or Nick or Billy Joe Bobby, something that's more specific. Then we can refer back later times in the sentence to that antecedent. That would really be the ideal for a sentence like this. And knowing your pronouns and which ones to use are things that the ACT likes to test. So who versus whom, or that versus which. This last one, actually, I get so many questions about throughout the class session. So let me start with that one, that versus which. There's kind of a simple rule for this. The simple rule is that is necessary, specific information that adds to the statement. So smoothies that have strawberries and raspberries are my favorite. If I didn't have strawberries and raspberries, it would not be my favorite smoothie. That specifically adds something necessary, which is bonus information or even repeating information. So check it out. Smoothies are often made with a variety of ingredients high in vitamins and protein. That sounds delicious. Which can make them healthy. That's sort of redundant, right? Because we have vitamins and protein. And meal option. Yeah, I don't know what else we were going to do with the smoothie besides eat it. So that's, again, unnecessary information. That's the simple way to cross out any that versus which discrepancy. But additionally, one more quick point is that often when we're using which, you'll notice a comma before it. Because again, we have an independent clause and then kind of bonus information that we put which next to. That's, again, a quick way to break down those two. And absolutely, Stephanie, we do go through and talk about a lot of who versus whom and breaking down all those little details when we see them on the ACT. Again, breaking it down for a quick application, whenever you see who, we're referring to a specific individual that we know for sure. I will address it to this person that we know interviewed you. Whom is generally used for an unknown person. So if I don't know the person at all, I don't have any reference for them, we'll use whom for that case. So I'm not entirely sure whom to send this check to. Somebody's going to get the check, somebody's going to get money, but I know exactly who wants that money, and that's me. I want to keep that money. So who versus whom, that versus which, and of course, in the other Kaplan sessions, we do go through a lot more additional grammar, additional usage, just to make sure these little words that you might accidentally have heard wrong in common usage, you learn right for the ACT for when they ask you about them. Last up, remember, since we're talking pronouns, they have to agree with whatever they're replacing. So like I said earlier, we would love for he, in the very first sentence, to be Billy Joe Bobby. In this case, students had better be matched up with a plural pronoun, their, because they are plural, and this matches up with the number of students that we see here in the example sentence. Speaking of examples, let's do another. I know that we've got Donald super excited. I know a lot of other people are too. Same deal, 20 seconds, go for it. All right, that was about 20 seconds. Let's take a look. I have an underlined pronoun and a bunch of nouns up in here in the original sentence. Birds of prey, mayor, center, town, lots of stuff. But what is the main subject? Help me out. Because by default, the main subject is who the pronoun should be pointing to. That's kind of our quick and dirty way of figuring out whenever we have an unknown, ambiguous pronoun used, which one it refers back to should be, by default, the subject. Let me see, a couple people already chatting through here that the mayor is the person who believes blah, 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 blah. So if we're trying to match up with mayor as our main subject, because the mayor is the one who's obsessed, the mayor is the one who believes, then we want this pronoun to match up with a mayor. Either a his or a her would be great here. It's no good as is because mayor is a person. So got to be answer choice C by default. Now I was 100% looking for her as well because, again, mayor could be either. We don't have anything in here that indicates male versus female. Again, though, for the ACT, they would never put both his and her in the answer choices because mayor is ambiguous enough to be either one. Nicely done. And of course, a ton of people got this one. I think gold star. I think nice work on this one. Now, is anybody interested in trying out what we would normally do in a class at this point, which is to actually do a whole passage? Anybody want to try that out, where we do a full set of questions based off of a full passage set of text? Because we've learned a lot of rules. We've put together a bunch of different tricks, some application. We've studied a little bit. Now maybe we can actually apply those strategies to a full passage. Let's go for it. Again, I'll be quiet at the beginning, making sure that you have a chance to really scan down through, read the context around this question. I'll give you the full 30 seconds. Go for it. Let's do it. And we'll do each one separately, so you don't have to worry about reading ahead or getting behind or anything like that. Let's do 3, 2, 1, and then go. So 3, 2, 1, first question, 30 seconds. And that was exactly 30 seconds. I know, you'd have 6 more additional seconds if this was the real timing. But I want to make sure we're moving at a good pace here. So for this one, we're scanning down through, and we have a whole bunch of commas for number 8. Nevertheless, many have necessary to life, such as these and these, contain... Okay, anytime I have multiple commas, I immediately look for how that comma is being used. For example, nevertheless is giving us this tiny little bit of modifying starting information. That's offset from the main independent clause, so I'm going to ignore that for a second. Many is where I'm going to start thinking about this. Now, after many, there actually are 2 more commas that set off information. All right, if those 2 commas are correct, I should be able to cross out that chunk as well and read everything else that's not underlined as its own independent statement. Let's check. Many organic molecules necessary to life contain nitrogen as a building block. Yeah, okay, that's got the subject, it's got the main point, and even without those little pieces in there, it still says the same theme. All right, well, that one is actually as good as is. No change. We're fine. Again, watch out for some of the other answer choices that might introduce additional commas that are starting to create this weird comma soup that gets in the way. That's one way we might see a possible error. The other thing is, if you see multiple commas, check what I just did. See if we can get rid of stuff in between the commas before you get tempted by something like J, which takes it out. If the comma is okay as is, we don't need to take it out. The sentence by itself is still good. Let's keep rolling. Let's take a look at number 9. Same deal. I'll be quiet. I'll give you 30 seconds for number 9. And then, of course, I'll give you a whole nother screen to take a look at for number 10 once we get down there. Go for it. All right, that was 30 seconds exactly. Again, I'm not trying to rush us. I'm trying to get us used to this sort of pacing. And again, if you haven't already done so, hit us up over there in that poll. I love seeing these answers fly in. First up, as always, I use that attack strategy. One interesting contributor is lightening it. I immediately jump in to use the pronoun usage without any sort of change or conjunction or punctuation at all. That's pretty awkward. Let's get rid of A. There is a problem here, and how could I simply fix it? I could simply fix it maybe with a comma and then a classic coordinating conjunction. Is lightning and it, or so it, or something like that. But scanning through the answer choices, I don't have that one. So what would be the next best way for me to offset a piece of information that's additional? Not the main independent piece, but which adds a little bit more to it than the original statement. We talked about that versus which. I'd love to find one of those in the answer choices as well. And the majority did catch on with that. Absolutely answer choice C. Gold star. Gold star. Now, B is pretty tempting for a lot of people because we wanted to put a comma in there for sure. But putting a comma in there and then immediately jumping in with a pronoun doesn't have a transition word, a coordinating conjunction of some kind. I'd love it to be fanboys or that or which. And we grab that with answer choice C, move on to the next one. Remember, 36 seconds or so on test day. We don't really have a lot of time to go through all of the hypotheticals, but in our heads, we're hopefully trying to look for the simplest possible case first. Let's do the same thing for number 10. I'll be quiet. Go for it. All right, that was right there at 30 seconds. All right, it can then, okay, so it, it's pronoun. I want to know what that pronoun is referring back to. First thing I think is, where is the main subject of this statement? It can then turn into within, Now sometimes the pronoun used has an antecedent that's not in that same sentence. I would love it if it was in the sentence, but we're going to have to go back in context to figure out what it is referring to. Let's go back one sentence before. Most of these live in and other legumes where the organisms convert nitrogen. Okay, so we're either referring back to one of those, microorganisms or legumes. Those are the two possible nouns I'm referring back to in the prior statement. At this point, we'd like one of those two to be the right answer. We could go right to the answer choices at this point, because we know we have to have something referred to. It's not good as is. F is out because it refers back to multiple possible nouns. That's really the simple way of explaining it. if there was only one noun, if I only underlined one thing in the prior statement, if it had only been Bob or Joe or Tim, it could be okay. Because we have multiples we could be confused by, we have to change it. We have to change it to one of those things. Okay, so it turns ammonia into other nitrogen things. So we have to go back. Which one of those was dealing with nitrogen and ammonia? There we go. Those legumes. Answer choice J. So again, thinking through the statement here, there's two things, because I bet a lot of us got tempted by G as in golf. They would match up with the case. We're talking about plural. Microorganisms, maybe, or legumes, maybe. But the issue here is that we can't have an ambiguous pronoun use. If it's ambiguous, if there's multiple things it could be referring to and we just don't know, you've got to put that noun back in again. If I said that Tom and Bill and Stephanie went for a walk and he liked ice cream, well, I had Tom and Bill and Stephanie. I'm pretty sure he isn't referring back to Stephanie, but I don't know whether it's Tom or Bill. All right, we got to put back in the noun in that case. That makes sense? I know a lot of people get tempted by G, but I wanted to make that super clear. This is a question where even if you were matching up to case, we still have to go that one extra little ratchet up the notch and notice that there's multiple things that are ambiguous. We'd have to go with J. Put in legumes again. Now, because that was one that might have tempted a few people, I want to remind you of one more thing. When we study, when we practice, when you're in this Kaplan Live online class with the ability to interact with me and interact with the other experts off camera, one question or two questions might kind of throw you for a loop, but those are the ones that we want to come back to. Work through slowly, figure out what's going on, so that when you see that the next time, you can crush that question, you can figure out that strategy, you can really effectively get that one right the next time you see it. So don't feel bad, actually. Feel optimistic. Now you know this special case scenario, you can look out for it next time. Let's do a couple more. I want to tackle at least these final three here on screen just to make sure we get as much practice as we possibly can here, because I know that Donald was super excited. Let's do these three. And again, I'll be quiet for 30 seconds like I did before. Go for it. All right, that was 30 seconds. Let's take a look. I know a couple people were bummed for no gold star on the last one, but maybe we can turn it around right here. Animals and other plants are capable of feeding on the legumes, absorb. Now, right off the bat, 11 sounded good at the beginning, but then we had this comma, absorb the fixed nitrogen and spread. Wait a sec, I have feeding, absorb, and spread. Now we can't change the rest of the sentence, and that's the whole point here. The rest of the sentence dictates what the underlined piece has to look like. So it's not no change because we do not match up with style. We can't have feeding, which is that present progressive, matching up with pure present, absorb and spread. Okay, so we get rid of A. We want to match up with absorb and spread though. So we want that absolute simple present. Well, simple present, I feed, you feed. Answer choice C. And that is absolutely gold star, Gabriel. I like that hashtag gold star squad. Delicious. Let's get that trending. Again, because this is the whole point, figuring out these little small ways we can attack these questions and really use our skills, use the grammar we've learned so far. Nicely done. Answer choice C. Next up, again, scanning down through, reading for context. I'll be quiet. Go for it. All right, there is our 30 seconds on the mark. Again, for anybody who feels like we might be going a little faster than they're comfortable with, you would have another 6 seconds or so to do additional thinking. And really, if this was the actual ACT passage, you might have hit a couple questions at this point that you did in 20 seconds or 25. So you might have a little bit of extra buffer additionally built in. Don't worry if it feels like we're going a little quick. Let's take a look. Eventually, as it decomposes and organic material, the eventually is offset, right? So we can ignore that for a second. That means the rest of this should be its own independent clause. As it decomposes and organic material returns the nitrogen to the atmosphere, there's a problem here. We need to separate something out here in order to give us one independent clause with some other stuff attached to it. Well, it looks like that last bit is its own clause by itself. Organic material returns the nitrogen to the atmosphere. This is a clause by itself, so we could cut that off by doing something as simple as possible, like a comma. Okay, well, all of the answers have commas in them, so pause for a second and remember that kind of second cardinal rule we mentioned. We want to fix something without ruining something that is not actually broken. Decomposes is fine. Let's not try and fix something that isn't broken. Decomposes is good. I don't have to change the tense or do anything crazy. I want this to be in present. It is in present. Done. And again, we've got that hashtag gold star squad is trending. That was a majority for G right off the bat, even before I started talking it through. Nice work. Last one on this page. Let's take a look at 13. Go for it. All right, that was absolutely our 30 seconds, like we've been doing for every single one of these. And, okay, in fact, offset, it's a little bit of modifier clause, so we can ignore that for a second. Bat droppings in Chile would have provided, now hopefully at this point, that sounds a little bit strange. Would have provided a large quantity of nitrates. Of is absolutely giving us that term that shows us where something comes from, but it's not giving us a context for whether it has provided or have provided, for that matter. So get rid of A. It's not no change. Something else is at hand here. We want to show some sort of possession. So have or had would indicate that we have some sort of maybe past perfect, or even just simple past. If I only know that one little piece of information in simple past, it would just be provided. So it's one of these answer choices that I know either perfectly or I know simply. Let's scan back over the question. In fact, bat droppings in Chile something, a large quantity of nitrates. Now, do I know stuff about other time periods in that sentence? Could this be perfect, where I know lots of information about bat dropping usage other times or other historical premises? Certainly not in that sentence. And it mentions, in fact, a particular detail from one point in the past. Gosh darn it, the simplest way to solve this would be the simple past. One fact being introduced. Answer choice D. Nicely done. We did have a majority for D. I hope I didn't get anybody tempted by that kind of casual discussion of possible traps. And I had a request for gold star, but I had a request for rose gold star. I like that. A little thinking outside the box. So rose star to you for requesting the rose gold star. Perfect. Now, actually, there are a couple more questions to do on this one. You want to finish it out? You want to do the last 3 questions? I mean, we're kind of rocking. That's all I'm saying. We've got 3 more to go. I think we should do it. And that's the beauty of these classes, is if we have to go back and look at something that was a trouble point, we can spend some time there. If we're really crushing it as a team and we want to kind of go together and I'll coach you through additional ones, we can do more questions. That's the goal of this, is to really try and effectively give you the most personalized prep and let you practice as much as you possibly need in order to get that effective increase. So let's keep going. I see a lot of people saying let's do it. Number 14, same deal. I'll be quiet. Read through for context. Good luck. All right, that was 30 seconds. Let's take a look. British Navy blockaded European continent. That sounds like it's its own clause. Independent, that's okay. Comma, cutting off Chilean nitrate supplies. Continuation of the same thought. Not its own independent clause, so we don't need a semicolon. We can get rid of the semicolon if we were tempted by it, because cutting off nitrate supplies is not its own independent piece. It's a little bit dependent on the first bit. So wait, if it's a little bit dependent on the first piece, and we had an independent clause, comma, modifying information, well, that sounds perfect as is. Well, we're done. No change. And F is leading, by the way, for those of you keeping track. I'm going to go for another pink star. I like that change to pink for a second here. Again, if it's good as is, and you're stopping and saying to yourself, but what if I replaced it maybe with a colon? Would that also be good? Stop yourself right there. Don't get caught that way. That's how a lot of people get tempted. If it's good as is, then we're done. We don't have to look for another one that might be acceptable or could be true. We're done. If you're talking to a friend and you say, hey, I want some ice cream, and the friend hands you vanilla ice cream, your friend gave you what you asked for. Even if you really wanted chocolate, or if you wanted Rocky Road, or if you wanted coffee ice cream, doesn't matter. They gave you a valid ice cream flavor. You're done. Same thing goes here. Even if you kind of wanted a colon instead, nope, it's good as is. Don't play with it. Jump to the next question. Let's take a look. Number 15, same deal. You know the drill now. You're old pros. Go for it. All right, let's take a look. 30 seconds in. I like this. I like this. Now, this is one that plays off of something we haven't really talked about a lot in this particular English test session, and that's more idiomatic usage of different tenses that aren't the classic perfect past or simple past or simple present. This gets into recognizing certain tenses that are a little bit peculiar. So, had just shook the scientific world. It's maybe a little difficult if English isn't your native language, or if you haven't done a lot of the imperfect tense words. Shook could be shaken, and if we just shook, that hopefully sounds just a tiny bit off on this one. We want this to be just in the recent past. We want to have shaken. So I did see a majority for B. I know we got this one, but just to be super clear, this is one that a lot of people might miss, especially if this is, English is your second language or third language. Watch out for the idiomatic usage or the kind of rare or ambiguous terms that might be ways you've heard it in real life, but that aren't actually the way those terms get used. And blue stars, all right, I can do it. I can do it. I have some multicolored stars at my disposal. Now we've got one more. The very last one of this set is number 16. I dare say, if we can get this one, who knows what colors are going to come into play? Go for it. I'll be quiet. Number 16, full 30 seconds because you've got a bunch to read here. Go for it. All right, let's see. So, taking a look at this one, obviously we have a whole new paragraph here, so scanning down to the question, some estimate that half of the world's, comma, so then half of the world's. Well, by itself, that isn't an independent clause, so maybe the second half is an independent clause. Let's just double check. Living population is here because we're missing something. Either of those two by themselves aren't an independent clause. We can't say them by themselves. All right, so get rid of no change. Clearly there's something in here we've got to modify. And we want to modify what's broken, in this case the comma randomly here in the middle, without adding something new that's bad. So I see a lot of people tempted between H and J on this one. We do have a majority for the right answer, so we are going to get a star of my color choosing this time. It is absolutely H. Now, for those of you who might have been tempted by J, remember, if it's not broken, we don't want to fix it. So the world's living population, absolutely, you got it, Ben. It's not broken. The world is owning that living population. It is the world's ownership population. Perfect. Leave it as is. It's not broken. We are good as it currently stands. And I think, let's see if we can make this happen. Maybe a rainbow of stars. Boom. Maybe a reverse rainbow of stars. Oh, snap. So again, as far as these practice questions go, this is really just to try and make sure you get the efficient practice, the effective practice. You can actually use the grammar rules that we've been playing around with outside of the stuff that maybe you've done in some cut and dry English classes, and really see how these transition into questions right, and also transition into essentially the effort you're putting in grants you that success. Now, if this was an actual Kaplan ACT Online Prep Live class, at this point, we're pretty much exactly done on time with the core session. We would now be taking a short break and moving on to a math test session or reading, or maybe even one of our special strategy sessions on timing or study habits. But speaking of practice, speaking of the real class, let's take a look at what you would get, since there's a lot of questions down here about what's going on with sign up and how do I get the class and all of that. Let me show you. First up, in terms of the class in general, or any study, no matter what you do for prep for the ACT, you need some basics. You want practice from the real test maker, you want a plan of attack so you know exactly what to do, and hopefully an awesome teacher if you need a little bit of additional support or coaching or guidance to improve the areas that you're a little bit weak in still. Now, yes, of course, any class costs money, but if you fill out the fee waiver form on ACT.org, you might even get the entire thing for free. So check out ACT.org for more information on that. And just before anybody freaks out going to ACT.org and not finding it, I want to be super clear. This doesn't actually go live until Friday. So if you're going to ACT.org, you've already signed up for your test maybe, and you're trying to find, where's the link? I must have missed it somewhere. You didn't. It's just not live yet. So bookmark ACT.org, your registration site. Come back on Friday. That's when everything will be live and you can sign up. Again, whatever you need most, It might not be the entire course. You might not need me up here in the corner talking you through all the examples. You might just want the practice questions. We've got thousands. You might want a full actual ACT practice. We've got those on there. You might want to just, you know what, pull up a couple extra flashcards on your smartphone when you've got a little bit of extra time in your day. Or speaking of time in your day, maybe you don't have a ton of extra time in your day because you've got homework or sports or theater or leadership or extracurriculars. I know the deal. So if you don't have time when the live session is airing, that would be the session I'm at, where, of course, Kristen and Stephanie, all of our other off-camera awesome ACT experts are talking to you, then that's okay. You can log into your syllabus at 1 a.m. on a Friday night and watch the one you missed through our on-demand recordings. That's actually kind of an additional sweet piece here that I know I definitely would have taken advantage of at this point, because I don't really have, at least I didn't when I was in high school, a set schedule. I was doing a whole bunch of extra stuff just trying to make my application look cool. And I would have definitely signed in at like 2 in the morning on a Saturday and done a reading or done a math session. Again, I was sort of a massive nerd, I'll just put it out there. But still, that flexibility means you don't have to worry if you've got a sports practice that overlaps with a class session you really wanted to come to. You can still see it. And to make sure you're not wasting your time in general during those practice sessions, what we do in your syllabus is we actually pinpoint, I don't like to call it weakness, I call it your biggest opportunity areas. Where could you really see a push in your overall strength and your overall scoring and the overall abilities you've already got to improve most? That's what we try and pinpoint. That way you can actually start practicing that stuff right off the bat. If you think back to maybe like a hard final test you had in one of your classes, like maybe a chemistry class or a biological class or something, and you look back over all the content you had to study over the entire semester, that gets overwhelming. That's stressful. We don't want that. We want you to jump in and immediately start piece by piece walking up that staircase, going through the stuff that you need in order to move your score. And again, besides all the resources and of course, to stay humble, we do have, of course, expert teachers. I'll point out, even though I do get the honor of being one of the experts and presenting for today's session, it's actually not me in these snapshots. If you see down here, if you've been chatting with Kristen in the chat, this tiny little ant face, I don't know if you can see it, that's Kristen. So when you sign up, when you go to your classes, when you have these sessions, and you recognize her from that itty bitty little picture, then you can say hi to her in person. In the meantime, there are a couple questions I've seen consistently throughout this chat, and I want to just solidify those to make sure you know exactly what your action steps are moving forward. First of all, for signing up, awesome that so many people are super excited about it. I'm excited as well, obviously. So when this all goes live on Friday, don't spam the servers tonight because nothing will happen. When you log into ACT.org and you go to your possible test dates and you go to actually submit, put in the credit card information and everything, you of course have the opportunity to do whatever you want, to take the test only, to take it plus writing only. That's the normal test sign up that you would do anyway. Nothing changes there. However, as of Friday, you also have the option to add one of 2 possible packages to that. And that's, of course, you could also get the fee waiver and add them for free. So I really encourage you to fill out that fee waiver form just to see if you can get it for free. But the 2 options you'll see are one of these. If you've already signed up for your test, you've already registered, you've already got a date in mind, you'll see a little option here to buy the Online Prep Live class. Live means me up here in the corner, or Kristen, or Greg, or Boris, or any of our other phenomenal teachers. That's the live session. If you want that, perfect. That's exactly where you'll find it in ACT.org when you've already registered. Now, if you've registered and you bought, let's say, the online prep by itself, online prep by itself without live means you have access to the syllabus, you have access to the questions, the flashcards, the whole deal, but you don't have access to the live instruction. So if you really liked having someone sit down, walk you through problems, tell you the kind of pinpoint things to think about and the strategies, and you want to upgrade to live, it's only the difference between the two classes. No additional fees, no transfer problems. You already have access to your syllabus. It's no problem at all. Flip of a switch. So usually what I say is, go for it, because this is that live interaction that gives you that chance to have that coach, have that mentor. But if you don't need it, again, I'm not going to try and push you for one versus the other. You have total flexibility when you actually sign up and when you make that decision on your own for your ACT prep. Now, to finish off our session today, I know that we've got our time here until 8:30 Eastern, so we have another 15 minutes. But I like to make sure I respect your time. I know you've got other things to do. I know that sitting down on a weekday afternoon is maybe not something that you expected to be doing. You want to be doing homework or doing other practice or doing other problems. We'll stay around to answer questions and to give you feedback and give you some of our expert coaching and mentorship if you need it. But I want to say one last thing, well, two last things before I kind of close up the main points I wanted to make. First up, first main point, this will all go live Friday. I'm sure that one or two people didn't hear me at some point when I said it, but Friday is when everything, all of the access, everything goes up for grabs. If you've already signed up for your ACT, no worries, you can add this in. If you haven't yet, you're trying to pick out your date, awesome, you can do it all at once. One credit card input, everything all bundled together, no additional fees, no problems. It's all live on Friday. Number two, this is, of course, accessible straight up through ACT.org. So you don't have to go anywhere else. It's already there on your syllabus, on your registration page. Of course, you can go to captest.com and look around and see all the stuff that we have as other offerings, but this is super simple. ACT.org, bookmark it for now. It's not live yet, but that's where you're going to go. Now, as far as this point in our session goes, if there are more questions, I absolutely can help answer them. I can even have some of our other experts answer some questions kind of in the chat or through their one-on-one feedback. But is there, if there's anything else that some of our experts have seen come through, I'm super happy to stick around and answer some of those. But again, I wanted to really make sure I respected your time. So I know that even if I don't see you specifically in one of my classes or in one of Kristen's classes, I know that you're in excellent hands. No matter what, good luck studying, good luck on the ACT, and if there's anything else that we can help with or I can personally help with in guiding you, in giving you that additional help that you need, absolutely do not hesitate to reach out to us. At this point, I saw a couple of great questions in here about some of the stuff that we covered. Brian asking about dashes. So in the actual class session, we do have bonus problems or additional stuff that the instructors can bring in. We could do a little bit more with some actual practice problems, but for today's session, we kept it kind of streamlined to make sure that you really got each of those points and could see how it plays out. But yeah, if this was a class, and really you're my students now, we could do some. The simple rules for dashes, just putting it out there again for us to remember, is that a dash is used to offset information, just like a comma, that is maybe additionally surprising or interesting. So, I love to whistle in the shower, dash, but I'm a terrible singer. We could have used a comma there, but maybe it's a little surprising, because if I'm such a good whistler, then maybe you'd think I'm also a good singer? No, a little surprising. I want to pinpoint to you, do not stick around if I say that I'm going to start singing, because it's not worth it. Log out, shut off the speakers. Whistling, though, is okay. In fact, can you whistle and hum at the same time? This is kind of cool. So hum, and then whistle, and do it at the same time. Kind of hear that vibration? That's the difference in frequencies. Kind of a massive physics nerd thing to say, but the difference in those frequencies is that kind of hum. Anyway, anyway, as far as our session goes, it looks like we're sort of wrapping up in terms of questions. I know that Kristen and Stephanie and a bunch of the other experts who've been helping out behind the scenes and in that chat have already answered a ton of stuff. I'll stick around too. I'll answer some questions as well in the chat. But in the meantime, if there's anything else that I can help out with, let me know. And there was a request, I believe, for me to sign off like so. But I'll sign off like this. It was my pleasure to present to you today's session. I hope I gave you lots of information. Good luck studying. Take care.